Now, the game literally just finished a couple hours ago. That's why we don't want to give any false information about Neymar.
Yeah.
The latest that we have, our colleagues Nico Bayer and Mark Ogden were there in ESPN Brazil too. They went down in the mid zone. I hauled my rear end here so I could do the show with you, Jules.
Thank you.
But the latest we're hearing is he turned his ankle, and it's going to be 24 to 48 hours where they're going to assess either the swelling comes down and he can play again, or if it's something more serious, we may not see him again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, depending on the gravity of your sprained ankle, it could be from 7 days out to more than that. I think he's definitely not going to play the next game. I would be very surprised if we see him again in the group stage, which is no problem. They will still go through, and then he can play again maybe in the last 16. But you saw his face as soon as it happened. You saw his face when he came off, when he arrived on the bench. I think you saw the worry of people on the bench as well. This is not good. He's a fragile player sometimes, and this is definitely not what you wanted like that so early on.
So $1 million question, or million real question, because that's not quite that interesting. With Neymar out, how do we, if you're Chichi, do you put somebody else in Neymar's position, or do you maybe tweak the formation? In other words, are you tempted to maybe you put on another striker, Gabriel Jesus maybe running off of Richarlison?
Maybe.
Or do you put in Fred and move the packet
forward? Forward, maybe. I like we said earlier, I don't think there's anyone in that squad as good as the squad is, as amazing as the squad is, that can do what Neymar does. Paqueta is probably the closest in terms of profile, maybe, and even that could be a long shot. So you change. I guess you change. The Gabriel Jesus Richarlison could be a good idea. I think Gabriel Jesus is intelligent enough to know exactly where to play and not to be too close to Richarlison or too close to Vinicius and too close to Rafinha on the other side. But it's a big blow. If really Neymar could not play the next game and again maybe the one after that, it's a huge blow because you've worked on this. You've worked on the relationship between Casemiro, Paqueta and Neymar so much in recent weeks and months that this would be like almost going back to scratch and say, okay, what do we do then?
And it makes a big difference if Paqueta's picking up the ball deeper,
of course,
as he would in this formation, and picking up further up where he's going to have a defensive midfielder on him.
Yeah.
I think it's a big call, and I don't think it's insignificant because, again, this team has been together for a long time, so on, but we're still talking about a handful of games. And going in a different direction in terms of chemistry for 2 games and then changing again for when Neymar returns, that's a big call you have to make.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Chichi handles it. We're going to move on in a minute, but I got to ask you, I think I had Brazil as a favorite or among the favorites.
Yeah.
Did you see anything to suggest to you? Now that we've seen everybody once, are they still your number one?
I mean, behind France, you mean? Yeah.
Well, France behind Benzema with no Benzema.
Okay,
no? That doesn't move the needle.
I was just saying.
France minus Benzema still greater than Brazil. That's what you're saying.
I think that for a first game in this World Cup, playing last, with all the pressure, you said to me, the first thing you said to me after coming back from the ceremony is that it felt like we were in Brazil. So all of that, which is great, but also an extra bit of pressure. I think they got the win they wanted. Of course, they could have played better, scored more goals. They hit the woodwork. We said that twice. But I think they would be very happy with that as an opener. Then they would get better. They would play better. And yeah, of course, they still have to be the favorite.
I think also, out of all the other favorites that we talked about, right, I'm just going to read
it was the toughest opponent. That's what you mean.
By far, right?
Yeah,
England playing Iran.
Yeah.
France playing Australia. Yeah. Argentina playing Saudi and losing. There's no question that this was, Belgium playing Canada, if you want to include that.
No, for sure.
Germany playing Japan and losing.
Hey.
How about that?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I thought this was a statement. I thought this was a tough opponent. Now it's done downhill. If Neymar is going to get an injury that keeps him out a few games, this is the time to
better
have
now
it.
than later.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.